Welcome to Turn Talks, the podcast that bridges the gaps between college and career. Join your host, Tina Fox, founder of Turn Mentoring, as she brings together corporate leaders, educators, and university alumni to share practical wisdom and equip you with confidence, clarity, and connection.
Hi, everyone. This is Tina Fox, the founder and CEO of Turn Mentoring, and you are live with us on Turn Talks. Today, I have a guest who I feel is like a brother to me. If there's anybody who knows where all the bodies are buried, this is the guy. And his name is Mike McNulty. Mike and I met many, many years ago through business development. We were both sales leaders in a medtech company, a little company known as Johnson & Johnson. We were actually within a division of cardiology known as Cordis. And we ended up not only working together, but traveling together. There was a hurricane that came through the place that we lived at one point in time, and I found myself homeless and having to live with him and his family temporarily. So this is the guy. This guy has been with me for so many years. So I want to welcome the one and only Mike McNulty. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, I'm wonderful. Great to see you, right? And great to be on here with you. I'm really excited about this opportunity. You're the best.
Well, so we were prepping for this call, and in true Mike and Tina form, prepping for anything means that there is this massive whiteboard and nothing ever gets done. We just realized there's just more and more and more that we could talk about. So we decided to throw away the whiteboard, hit play, and let's go. So, Mike, I told the audience a little bit about how we met, but would you like to share about the very beginnings of how we met?
Absolutely. I was insanely jealous of Tina Fox. I really did not like you. We literally grew up together in the med device world back in the rip-roaring 1990s, back in the 20th century. It's it's unbelievable, right? But I remember being junior rookie reps back in 98, 99 together at Cordis Cardiology, like you said, a J&J company. And I was trying to make my way, very insecure, trying to prove myself. And in comes this hurricane, this dynamo, with a cool name like Tina Fox, right? And with style and savviness and, believe it or not, huge personality and insanely jealous from day one.
I owe it all to you. I owe this personality all to you. Okay.
Well, I like to tease, but no, honestly, I'm just being very, very candid with you. You were a force of nature. You came in immediately, made a huge name for yourself and got promoted to the position I wanted. And ironically, I was blessed that when our good friend Tyler Benny moved on to marketing, I was blessed to come be your junior, your right-hand man, if you will, in the global sales training department for J&J Cardiology. And it was probably, the best year of my career to this day. I mean, we learned so much from the Godfather, Manny, right? Great mentor to us both. But you mentored me, right? I mean, you taught me how to run a professional sales training class. So as much as I like to tease you, Tina, I mean, it's not a surprise to me and many, many others that you're now founder, CEO of a mentoring company. It makes total sense because you're a natural coach, natural teacher by heart. So that's how we met. That's the truth. You've never ever heard me be so nice. So that's it for you.
Just gonna say, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do this more often because those are the nicest things you've ever said.
No more soup for you. I'm done. The compliments are over.
You pick on me like crazy. Okay, so Michael, I love everything about you because you're the most real human. I get to be involved in so many aspects of your wonderful life. Being able to see you raise your kids, seeing them going off to college, seeing you move through the medtech world into some of the highest levels, both startup and established companies. You work with boards, you build, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales teams. You do some crazy things. And yet at the same time, you've always been one of the most grounded people that I've ever met. You have this sense of humility, always typically said in a way which is like self-deprecation. Mike is the first, and he'll probably do it on this podcast. He's the first to deprecate himself on anything, and he's always making fun of himself. So when he makes fun of me, I know he makes fun of himself. But all that to be said, it's just been such a joy to watch you just do all of these crazy things, but at the same time, you are so grounded. You are such just a nice person. You're always somebody who wants to help. The other thing I'm going to point out is that you are also a champion for women in business. And I want to say thank you on behalf of all the women that I know you've hired, worked with, mentored. You've been an amazing, and you're a guy's guy too. You're a total dude's dude. Yet you're like, I have this way of connecting across all lines, and that's how you show up. And that's one of the reasons I really appreciate you. So that's me saying something nice back to you, and now we can go.
Yeah, that's now for the real talk, right? Now, geez.
Yeah.
Well, I will, if you don't mind. I mean, I wouldn't mind giving a shout out to Richard and Mary McNulty. Noni and Pappy, my parents. I think that I never had a choice regarding staying grounded because they are the two most wholesome, down to earth, humble, moral people I've met in all my years. To this day, I still have yet to meet anyone better than mom and dad. And so they would never allow me to be anything other than, just a good old blue collar Western Pennsylvania kid, regardless of any sort of accolades or financial success, whatever it may be in life. What they care about is, are you a good person? Are you honest? Do you work hard? Do you take care of your family? They don't care about cars or mansions or W-2s. They care about, what's inside. So I give them full credit. And then regarding the women in business, I seriously, all joking aside, I really appreciate you proactively mentioning that. That's something that I'm very proud of. I actually have a little color commentary. And it's not about a brag. It's just about providing evidence that's just not paying me lip service. We started a small little company out of Plymouth, Minnesota back in 2014, or at least we commercialized the business in 2014. And in 4 years, we recruited, hired, trained more women for this small little med device company, okay, in 4 years and I'm not taking a shot at my friends at Big Orange, but we were acquired 4 years later by Smith and Nephew, and we were integrated into their sports medicine division. Now, our company had, I think when we were acquired, I think we had 60 humans, 60 W-2s reporting up to me, okay? So my little sales team was 60 humans, right? They had over 500 employees in their sports med division that we joined. We had more women on our team than they did their team. So an N of 500 versus an N of 60. We had 17 women out of 60 employees. And as you know, in the med device world, that is a huge percentage. And by the way, not just sales reps, not just, case coverage reps. I'm talking about senior sales leaders in the organization that we hired, we trained, we groomed and developed. And, I've got one, ironically, from my hometown in Pittsburgh, that's now a chief commercial officer, right? I've got another one who is director of sales for Smith and Nephew down in South Florida. And then the list could just go on and on and on with not just their success.
So I got to ask you because
Yeah.
I know that you hire, you train, you promote, and you do it not because we are women, they are women.
No.
You do it because you believe that these are the right people. And you're the first to tell somebody you've never, ever pulled a punch. You're the first to, especially with me, you're the first to tell somebody straight up, this is what I see. This is what's working. This is what's not working. You have always been a mirror. And that for some people, that's very hard. I fully appreciate that. But just because, okay, so you are a guy's guy, you have been a hiring manager, you are a hiring manager, you are a leader in medtech. Tell me, what is it about what you saw in these women And where is the disconnect? Why were you guys 17 out of 60 and Big Orange was not?
There were
What do you
three. I
think
think
is
there
missing?
were three at the time. 3 out of 500, I think, at the time. Yeah. It was again, this was years ago. Smith and Nephew, if you're listening, you have done a phenomenal job of changing that culture. I just want everyone to know that because that is really
No
true. They
shade.
really have. But
No shade.
I will tell you, it's very basic, as you can, because you know how basic I am, right? I think, again, growing up in blue collar Western PA, there's some gray in life, but a lot of things are black and white. And whenever I definitely have a system, a process, if you will, for recruiting. First and foremost, I don't care what color skin. I don't care. I don't care about anything about demographics. And I'm never trying to fill quotas. Okay. I want the best. Okay. To use it as a sports analogy, right? The great Chuck Noll, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, right? He said, all I care about is drafting or signing the best available athlete. And then I'll teach him how to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Okay. This is back in the 70s. So that has stuck with me all my life. All I want in that particular or that specific market that we're recruiting in, I want the best available sales talent. Okay. Regardless of their resume, their experience, their relationships, I want who I feel has the most talent because I know my team and I will develop them into the very best version of themselves. So that may be a black man, it may be a white woman, it may be a Hispanic dude. I don't care. I just want the best person. And it starts with integrity and character. Everyone hears this until I'm blue in the face. Unquestionable character and integrity is the number one thing I look for because nothing else matters if I can't trust you. If you can't tell the truth the first time, we're not going to be able to develop you. Okay. So that's just some of the basics about why, out of 60 employees, 17 happen to be women because in those 17 circumstances, 17 recruiting efforts, they were the best available sales talent. Now, I will tell you, and my boys, right, or my men sometimes get a little bit annoyed with me. This is a little bit tongue in cheek.
Just them. It's not just them.
Yeah, well, yeah, no kidding. I'll introduce you. We can hang out with Melanie again. Can I tell you something though? And this is, I know I don't want to start stereotyping and I don't want generalizations flying out of my mouth. I will tell you to take it maybe a step further. A lot of times, man, women are just more organized and more disciplined. Time management, definitely with the mothers, right? Because they have so much that they're balancing. And it's just amazing how efficient they are. In sports medicine, sometimes it gets a little bit too good old boy, relationship driven, ex jocks calling on ex jocks. And with women, they don't mess around. I mean, I'm not saying they don't develop rapport and genuine relationships, but they do it much differently. They do it based upon the most important thing that we should have in common with our surgeons, which is patient care, right? They focus more on that, which is the thing. And I always tell my reps, man, you got to keep the thing. And the translation is it's all about patient care, right? Everything else, if you take care of the patient and you have that mindset when you're in the OR with those nurses and those surgeons, everything works out. The revenue, the cases, the growth, hitting your plan, making the money to sustain your lifestyle. But you got to keep the thing, which is making sure that patient is taken care of. And I just feel like a lot of times women are better at focusing on the thing than some of my male counterparts. And I'll probably get some hate mail for that, but that's just been my experience the last, 3 or 4 companies that we've started.
So integrity and truth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Anything else to point out? Because I'm going to go back to integrity and truth because I failed to mention another very important connection.
So not to get a shameless plug, but I wrote an article for my LinkedIn page back several years ago when I was working with Jen. And yeah. And that was the 6 pillars of recruiting superstars. And now I've increased it to 10. I don't know if I can rattle off all 10 here. I should have written them down, right? But it's always unquestionable integrity and character is number 1. Number 2 is relentless work ethic. These people do not work to a clock. these people work to a standard, and they're not going to stop until, it's taking, whatever their goal was for that day, they don't stop until it's achieved. Sometimes that's 6 hours, sometimes that's 14 hours, but it's that relentless work ethic. We love people that are learners. That's a huge part of our recruiting process, is putting these candidates in position where, like one of my great hiring managers, he's actually my best recruiter. One of his favorite questions, okay, it seems so innocent, right? So tell me about what book are you currently reading, and what's the last book you read? And it's a real turnoff for all of us when they say, "Oh, I don't read. I don't have time to read." Okay, that's not a red flag. That's a yellow flag, because, if you don't like to read, a lot of times that means you don't like to learn. And we don't like to work with people who are not learners, because learners love to grow. They love to evolve. They know that they're not the best version of themselves, and they want to continue to evolve to be a better version of themselves. And learners are typically more interesting at the cocktail hour because they got more to talk about, right? We love, another one of our principles when we recruit is, are you a curious person? Okay. Are you curious in nature? And you're like, well, why is that? Because a lot of sales professionals think it's all about advocating, when you and I know it's mostly about discovery, right? It's mostly about using these two things more than this big thing. And so the great ones know to be curious and to ask more questions. Well, tell me more. Wow, that's really interesting, doc. Now, why do you feel that way? Right? I mean, that's just basic stuff, but a lot of people miss it. We don't hire for relationships. I think that is one of the most disappointing and overused. When a hiring manager comes to me and brags about this candidate's relationships, I get very concerned, because I'm like, we'll see about that, because as Manny taught us years ago, there's very few actual genuine relationships. That doesn't mean you don't have a lot of customers that you have strong rapport with, okay? But a relationship is very, very hard to achieve. And the great ones probably only have 5 or less. Most sales reps really have one or two. So you better not hire for relationships, especially when you're starting a company and you need 100% growth year over year in the beginning, and then 75% growth year over year for the next chapter. And then eventually, right now, we're at 50% growth year over year. That's just what you have to do to cross the chasm. So you have to have the right people in order to achieve those, very lofty sales goals.
So can I push pause on that, because I do want people, I want to direct people to your article, because I think that they'll get a lot more out of it, because I know when you write, you write very thoughtfully. So if anybody gets a chance to go see Mike McNulty's, is it Mike McNulty? I think if you have it as Michael McNulty. Michael McNulty on
Michael, yeah, I think I've changed it to Michael. It's
Yes. And his stuff will be below this podcast too. You can see his LinkedIn there. Click there. But go and read what he puts out on his LinkedIn, because I think that there's so much wisdom. The funny thing about you is I can say any topic and say go. And because of your life's experience, you have so much information to share. That is one of the most fascinating things that I find about you. But I want to go back to two things: relationship, because I feel as though you and I have a really special relationship. It doesn't matter that we haven't lived in the same state in decades. We haven't worked together in decades, but we remain very, very close as comrades in just life and business and parenting and everything. We talk about all sorts of different topics. And this is what I find amazing about you. So we'll talk about the relationship part in a second. I'm going to go back to what you said about integrity and character, because I failed to mention, and I can't believe I did this, especially after seeing my father this weekend. Thank you for your service.
oh, geez, yeah.
Because although we talk a lot about medtech, Mike actually served on the DMZ when he was a young soldier for the U.S. Army Cavalry Division. And one of the things that we have in common is the fact that I am deeply tied to the military, and Mike has served in our great military. And I believe still less than 1% of the United States chooses to serve in our great military to protect all of our rights and give us our freedoms that we so appreciate. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I believe not only is it Dick and Mary, your parents, but I believe it is the military that has taught you integrity and character because, when you're watching someone sick, you need to know that that person's got your back and you've got theirs. So I had to remind myself about, where your humble beginnings started, and it started there.
Well, you're so true. You're in a, demilitarized zone, right? Which is still technically we're still at war. People don't realize that anyone who serves on the peninsula of South Korea actually is a combat veteran because I'm a member of VFW because of that year in the DMZ. We never did sign a peace treaty. So they're still technically at war. Most people don't realize that. But to your point, when you're in a situation like that, you tell the truth or people can die. So that's even more serious than missing a sales number. Right? Yeah.
Everything else pales in comparison. That's probably why you're like, this is not that big of a problem. We have better problems than we had on the DMZ. So let's start with that and let's go forward from there.
It does. No, it does. I think when I speak to a lot of, former veterans or, former military, veterans, very few things in life as a civilian, sometimes, people get annoyed with me, like, why aren't you not stressed out? It's like, because I don't have a, North Korean pointing a, a weapon at me right now. We'll figure it out.
The same thing about what I'm doing now, because when people are like, how come this isn't that big of a deal to you? I say, because I came from the world of medtech, and in medtech, you make a mistake in somebody's brain or in somebody's heart, we got some dire consequences to consider. So that to me is far more higher on the scale of urgent than somebody's having a bad day in mentorship. I mean, it's like, it's just not even comparable.
6. That's the number 6. I observed 6 patients expire during my time in the cath lab. And as you know, you as a rep, your mouth is shut and you become a part of the back wall. And then you try to slither on out of there as the staff and the, cardiologists try to revive them. So you're right. That cardiology experience was intense, right? I mean, that was.
You don't forget. You don't forget your first. You don't forget any. And yeah, it makes you very aware of how fragile everything can really be.
You bet.
So our relationship is not fragile. we we have endured a lot together.
Absolutely.
And I don't know where we should go with this. Where do you want to go? You want to go mentorship? What's like what are the things that you would want to share? Well, you've got 3 grown kids too that are making their way through this world now. One is still in college. The other one is getting PhD. Is Maddie getting
Right, yeah. The oldest Molly is working for a private equity firm in Birmingham, Alabama, like a boutique bank. Maddie just graduated from Auburn, and then she'll be going back to Auburn in the fall. It's a 4-year program where she'll get her master's and then eventually her PhD in audiology. She's going to be an audiologist, which obviously we're very proud of her. And then Ben is a rising sophomore. So all 3 of my beloved babies turned down Clemson, the great Clemson, to go to Auburn, but that's okay. They were raised in Birmingham, so that's the Clemson of that part of the country. And it's a wonderful, wonderful university, great community. They have had such phenomenal experiences. I'm just, beyond proud of them. But, if you want to, we can talk some mentorship, right? In preparation for this call, I thought, man, I need to take like an inventory of my life, right? And just think back to the different chapters. I like to segment in everything I do, right? Whether it's my personal life or my professional one, I'm like the king of segmentation. Just helps my brain process things and keeps all the chaos I call it organized chaos that's going on inside there. And Tina, it could not, it's so authentic and genuine, but it's also sort of ironic that here you are, founder, CEO of this amazing company that's focused on mentoring young people. And I'm not sure I've ever shared this story with you about what mentoring has meant to me. So let's push rewind to our time together at Cordis Cardiology, J&J. And now you and I are grown-ups, man. We have gone from junior reps, and then we had that amazing experience together in Miami at the global sales training department. then you graduated or, you got promoted first, obviously, and, started doing wonderful things up in the Mid-Atlantic, right? Running your first team. And then I eventually got promoted to the Deep South, right? And started running out of Birmingham, Alabama. My point is this. I think just around the time you had had enough fun, right? And you were ready for a new challenge. I didn't have the courage that you did to take that leap, okay? And go to that startup company like you did. I stayed at J&J and I wasn't miserable, but I was definitely feeling unsatisfied. I was feeling bored. I was feeling like basically an overpaid professional babysitter. I didn't feel like I had autonomy anymore. So I got restless. And maybe unbeknownst to you, I developed a little LLC and M&M coaching, right? And the whole premise of this side
Got it.
hustle.
I didn't know it was going on then, but I did learn about it later. So go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
And
M&M.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so the whole premise of this project or this little LLC was a little side hustle, right? A little beer money or slush fund. But it really was more about, it wasn't about money. It was about helping young people be more prepared. I have all these people who want to get into med device, and yet I'd speak to him, I'd interview him, and it was like, "Oh gosh, like your resume's a mess," and it's not their fault. No one coached them. No one taught them how we speak, right? The vernacular that we would use as young professionals. And so I said, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to quit complaining, quit making fun of them, and I'm going to do my little part, right? I'm going to put my little dent in the universe and help out a bunch of young people. And some of them will get jobs because, my help, and, many won't, but I'll feel better at night. Well, here's the point of the story, okay? So, Tyler Binney, yeah, his name pops up again, calls me up and says, because remember, he was Atlanta regional sales manager. He goes, "Hey, man, I've got this kid. I want you to meet this kid. His name's Jason Blevins, and I'll tell you, he's all over the place, but I'm telling you, I think this kid's got it, man. I think he's got natural talent. He needs some Mikey time, I said, "Oh my God, Tyler, thank you, man. I absolutely will take him on." By the way, I don't think I ever charged him a penny. I don't even think I know I never made any profit on that my initial LLC. But anyways, so I start coaching Jason. I meet him in person a couple times because he lived in Atlanta. I lived in Birmingham. I would drive over to Atlanta and meet with him. We had countless phone calls. And I was really watching this kid evolve, right? Well, next thing I know, he calls me up one day and says, "Mike, my dad wants to meet you." I'm like, "What?" Like, "You're 25 years old, dude. Like, that's a little weird, right?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Well, I actually never told you like the whole truth, but my dad is Coy Blevins." And I'm like, "Coy Blevins?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe I've been working with you for 6 months and never put your last name and I'm like, "The legend Coy Blevins, the guy who just sold Purr clothes with Hank Plain for like 6 or $700 million to Abbott?" He's like, "Yeah, man, that's my dad." I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." So now I'm nervous. I'm like, "Oh God, this guy's gonna be critiquing me." And I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I'm like, this guy's like, "What are you doing with my son?" So I drive over to Atlanta one night. We have this wonderful dinner. We break bread. And guess what? The mentor that night, I became the mentee, right? Coy was like, "Let me tell you something, boy. I've been telling my son these things for years, and do you think he listened to a darn thing the old man told him? No." He goes, "Next thing I know, he meets this Mike McNulty guy, right? And he is like literally spewing all of my wisdom." He said, "I'm telling you this." "Well, I know, Dad, but you know what? It's different coming from someone else."
That's exactly right. It's
Yeah.
like we always say at Turn, we want to introduce a fourth P. If you are so used to in college, their sphere of influence, at least mine was parents, peers, and professors. You're
Yes.
you're in college, that's your major sphere of influence. Parents,
100%.
so you got the three Ps that are always
Yeah.
around you, and they're
I
all
like that.
and they do. By the way, anybody who's actually watching this video, Mike is now taking notes. So this is something that
Because
Mike,
I'm taking that from you, I'm going to make it my own.
of course, Mike is someone who he is the king of note taking. And I thought I was the queen of note taking. And then I would watch Mike, and Mike takes down every comma, every exclamation. Just amazing. So
Real quick, do you know what? Real quick, I'm not going to get you off. Do you know why?
why?
Because of one of my great mentors, Martha Shaden. She taught me, and she didn't tell me to do it. I just observed her, and I'm like, that's why she's such a machine. That's why she never forgets anything. That's why I can't tell her a lie or even a little exaggeration and embellishment, because 6 months later, she'll go in her notebook and say, now, Michael, on May 18th, you said, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I learned that from the great Martha Shaden like 12 years ago. True story. Sorry.
Martha is wonderful. Thank you for
Yep.
introducing. So yeah, so the three Ps have done everything that they can. And, the professors are teaching all in class, they're offering office hours, the peers are in the same boat, and the parents, the truth be told is that when kids turn 12, they're done listening to their parents. The majority of where they're getting their influence is outside the house. It's going to be through their phones these days. It's going to be through their peers. It's going to be through other people that they connect with. And so by the time they get to college, those three Ps are baked. And the goal is to introduce better Ps outside of the three Ps that now the students will listen to, because there's wisdom there, there is experience there is support there, and introducing them to another person and a professional, particularly in the world of mentorship, can augment that student's perspective and their own experience. So I know why Coy loves you so much, because you took his son, his most prized possession, and you sat with his son and you helped him through decision making and through thought processes that Coy himself was at a loss to provide, because it's not that it wasn't great advice, it was that the ears were just turned off, right?
Right. That's gospel truth. And here we are 18 years later, and I can say with 100% accuracy, Coy Blevins and my relationship to him has changed my entire life, changed the entire trajectory of my career. I would never have had the amazing opportunities if it wasn't for my relationship with Coy Blevins. So all it took was Mike McNulty having, the desire to help somebody else, right, through mentoring. And then look what it did for me. So I thought when I was thinking about this podcast last night, I was like, I'm not sure Tina really, really knows the whole story. I know
No,
you did.
I know you knew Coy, and I knew that he was a mentor to you, but I didn't know that you had mentored his son. I didn't know that connection.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, it wasn't just me. I mean, Coy and Tyler. I
Of
mean,
course.
you asked Tyler Binney who his number one mentor in life is, and not just for our careers, but like life, it'd be Coy. And so that's just one example. That's the most powerful example I have to share with you and your audience. But like I was saying earlier, wow, like you really forced me to take a look in the mirror and be like, oh my gosh, we've had great mentors since Little League Baseball, since I was 12 years old. I mean, I used to always tease that, some people like to collect wines, some people collect stamps and coins and etc. I like to collect old, wise, wealthy people, man. That's my collection, right? And I don't care if you're a man or a woman, white or black. I don't care. I mean, if you're older and wiser, I want to learn from you. I want to be a sponge, because I've become more of a formal and informal mentor to a lot of younger people. And I tell them all the same thing, T. I promise you, I'm not smarter than you, more talented or skilled. I'm just older. I've lived more life. Okay. And so what you'll get from this experience is probably what not to do as much as what to do. Because I made every mistake, baby. And so if I can help just one person avoid that left-hand turn when they should have made a right? So yeah,
By
it's
the
really
way,
special.
another term for you, since you're jotting things down, and that is that whole story about Coy and about his son. Thank you for sharing that, because that is proof positive of quantum giving. And quantum giving is something that I am talking about more and more, because I believe it is a thing that people don't recognize but need to have trust in. And that is that when you do what you did, which is you took an opportunity to support a younger person, and in that ended up having you meet somebody who then mentored you, there is this ripple effect. And then, of course, that I didn't know this story. I didn't know the totality of the story. There is this ripple effect that occurs every time we go out and give. And we don't know where it's going to land necessarily. We don't know what shore or what person that ripple is going to finally touch at some point in time. But I'm sure if you go back to your Little League baseball coaches and you had the opportunity
Wilson.
to...
Sorry.
What is it?
Coach Dave Wilson.
There. You don't remember the guy's name.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm still in contact with him. I mean, I'd never lose a mentor, man. I don't know. These are lifelong relationships. Yeah.
So the beauty of that is because you are who you are, you have gone back to him and he knows your life story, and he knows that, he made such an impact in your life that you wanted to stay connected with him. And all these years later, here you are doing all of these things, and he was a part of that journey. That is quantum giving. And now you give back. You give back. And I'm sure those that you've given back to in mentorship are now on their own journey to give back in mentorship. It's just an unending, this is quantum giving where it's not linear. It just keeps going in circles and backwards and forwards. And it just keeps going and keeps touching people in ways that you have no idea. And then maybe if you're lucky at some point in your life, you find out about a story and you were either the origin or you were a big part of why that story ended up taking place. It's
100%.
a beautiful thing. So thank you for being a part of quantum giving.
Yeah, I love the term. I'm going to steal that one too.
Okay. We're trademarking that term so you can't steal it. You know what? I didn't
hurry up and go.
my stuff with you because you are such a little, you're like a little squirrel finds a nut and you're like back in the tree. All right. Oh gosh. You make me lose my train of thought too. You just like, all right. So where were we? We were talking about, okay, so you are a collector of mentors. Yes, you are.
Yeah, I am. And I've had one of the first things or not first, I think the question I've been asked more than any other in the last, call it 25, 30 years of trying to give back and help, younger people is, or the most consistent concern is, I don't want to bother you and you're really busy and I don't, and I'm like, time out. If you ask somebody to mentor you and they don't have time, that's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of them. And that's okay. Okay. But the key is to be genuine with your mentor and always try to provide them value. Because here's the dirty little secret, Tina. Yes, I love to give back. Yes, I love to give advice. But when I take like a inventory or a catalog of all these younger people that I've mentored through the years, I can guarantee you I have gained more from the relationship than the younger person. And oh, by the way, when I tell them I'm not smarter than you, let me tell you, I'm pretty convinced that we're near 100%. All of them were smarter than me. Okay. And even if they weren't, it's not a contest of intellect. It's that God has created each individual, I believe this to be true, with a very specific DNA, very specific, footprint, if you will, and God-given talents. And it's amazing how much I've learned from these people about all kinds of different things that I've never even heard of. And let me tell you, the longer it goes with the age gap, the more I'm learning. I mean, I am like and I know the obvious one is technology, right? But also pulp culture, slang, I mean, I love to annoy my 20-something children with all their slang. I always misuse it, but they can't even believe I know it. They're like, where did you get that? I'm like, no, just cool, man, But yeah, the thing that, again, the person looking to be mentored has got to get over that. Oh, I don't want to waste your time. No, you're going to bring value and you need to make it mutually beneficial. Okay. Like, for example, I always, hey man, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Hey, like I'm always, for my mentors, I'm always going to visit them, a couple times a year, buying them breakfast, lunch. And it's not about material gifts for them. It's more about, hey, I really value your time. I really value this amazing advice and wisdom that you're sharing with me. And I want to give back to you. And then the number one way, to your point about this quantitative giving,
Quantum
that's
giving.
quantum. Yeah, that makes more sense. Quantum giving is that it's amazing how many times there are Coy and Jason Blevins stories out there where Jason Blevins is now mentoring, people my children's age, right? And it
Mhm.
just keeps going on. It's like compound interest or, quantum giving. I don't think when you asked me to participate with this conversation that you realized maybe just how special mentoring has been in my life, both as someone who's been mentored a lot and someone who loves to mentor. One last thing about the topic. I find that through the years, I have gotten way less definitive with my advice, way less statements. Okay. When I was younger and less mature and less wise. No, this is the way it is. No, I'm telling you. And now I have found that I'm much more like stoic and much more like my mentors that I'm like, oh, they hardly ever make any definitive statements. They just keep asking me questions. And so that to me is a really powerful, effective form of mentorship is you get the person, you get their juices flowing and they solve it themselves most of the time.
I don't know. Did I ever, what you just said brought up something that I recently just spoke on about as people age, they don't give definitive statements. They don't tell you how or why. They ask you better questions. And when they ask you better questions, they actually put it back on you to have to make the decision. They have you start thinking. And I just told the story of my popo, my Chinese grandmother. And when she was 93 and I was 41, I came to her because that was the time where I was trying to figure out, if you remember, I was trying to figure it out if I was going to stay in my 22-year career med tech life or if I was going to leave and become an entrepreneur. And I had never even thought that I would become an entrepreneur. That wasn't like a thought. I didn't major in it, I didn't minor in it. It wasn't a thought. I was always going to work for somebody my whole life. And I was going to be happy in working for someone and being a good employee. And when I went to my grandmother and I was at that juxtaposition, I was telling her all about this stuff. And she said to me, she said, Tina, and she's 93, she's laying in her bed. And she looked at me and all she said was, Tina, what do you want to do for the next 50 years of your life? And that question was so loaded with where I went with it. First of all, I was at 41. So in my mind, I had already run half my life's race. The cup
Right.
was half full and I only have this much space left to fill. And my grandmother was looking at it as the cup is still half empty. Like you still got so much that you can put in that cup. So she changed my perception of time with that question, right? She also, what do you want to do? I had never created, actually, if I'm being honest, I still don't have it. I've never created a definition of success, my own, until she asked me that question, because nobody prior to 41 years of age had ever asked me if I knew what I wanted to do. And it was always like if I was in school, it was expectations of parents and professors and whatever that system said. When I got a job, it was expectations of the job. And so my goals were always aligned with somebody else's idea of what needed to happen. So
Right.
you're so right about as we age, we just get better at asking the questions.
Percent. I'm thinking of Danny Gregg. He was when I was president of SAE back at my college days, he was our fraternity advisor. And so he became a great mentor and friend and my financial advisor for 30 years until he retired. And he was the master at exactly what you just said. He would turn everything around. When I was younger, I would get frustrated. Like, dude, just tell me. Just tell me, and no. And he's one of the first people who taught me the difference between a fact and truth. Okay. And so he's like, be very careful, Mike, that your truths in your mind are misinterpreted as facts. He's like, because really a truth is just your opinion or your perspective of what you observed, what you heard. You know, that's different than a fact. And there's a lot less facts in the world than people think there are. They think their truths, okay, are facts when that's very, very, very rare. So that's why I probably annoy people. I'm always like, no, no, listen, disclaimer. This is not a fact. This is a Mike McNulty truth or my opinion, okay? Take it with a grain of salt because for every Mike McNulty who feels this way, this has worked for me. There may be two guys who say, don't do that. And you got to figure out what is best for you and your style. So, yeah, that's
A great pearl that you just dropped. What's his name that told you that?
Danny Gregg.
Dan. Thank you,
Da-
Danny.
Danny Gregg, yeah.
I love the fact that your mind is like, just a bank. It just locks it in there. Okay, so you said a little bit ago, you said you could also probably tell people a lot of what not to do.
Right.
And so anything you wanna share about life? I know you got so many stories, probably many of them you always turn everything into a funny. It's not funny at the time, but you always turn everything into, like, you know what you are? So there's a song, that I quote often by AJR, this group AJR, and in the song, it says, "100 bad days means 100 good stories, and 100 good stories makes you interesting at parties." And you, Mike McNulty, are so interesting at a party.
I got plenty of stories. Yeah. You know, the self-deprecation, by the way, that, I don't know where that started. I don't know where it came from. I do know that it is a sign of confidence that I think what I try to do to disarm people intuitively, instinctively, is to say the quiet part out loud, right? So that they don't have to. And they're like, oh, wow, that guy's confident. That guy's got self-awareness, you know? So I think that's where that comes from. To me, there's very few things that are a greater turnoff than somebody at my level or even above who can't admit that they're wrong or can't show some vulnerability, from time to time. I just think that it's who you fooling, Jack? No one's perfect. No one has all the answers. So I think your people will respect you more if you admit, hey man, I messed that up, and the joke's on me, right? Let's all have a good laugh at my expense because I'd rather laugh at me than make fun of somebody else, right?
So
As
true.
far as some advice, yeah, I think this goes for when I think about all the things that I wish I could have done maybe better or not do, etc. The number one thing in both my personal and professional lives is I believe, okay, I've assessed that my greatest strength in life is my passion. I just feel like I care more than just about anybody else. And I'm just going to try harder, work harder, whatever it takes, to win and whatever win means in that situation. Okay. Whether it's in a personal relationship, whether it's on like, a sales call, what have you. Passion is good, Tina. But what I've learned is that when your greatest strength goes unchecked for whatever reason, typically you're exhausted, you're stressed, whatever, it typically bleeds into your greatest challenge or your greatest weakness. And in this case, passion unchecked is called emotion. And emotion is really bad in business. And that's the number one way you lose people's respect and trust is whenever you blow up and they're like, whoa, dude, calm down, man. Why are you so emotional? I can't trust this guy to be a senior leader, right? Or in your personal life, right? Blowing up at your children or, raising your voice at your spouse or friend, whomever. So that would be my number one advice of what not to do. If you're a type A, amped up person like I am, man, you got to learn. I would do a lot of reading on Stoicism. That is my big push this year. That's my word of the year is Stoicism, right? I want to be more of a Stoic. Yeah. Marcus Aurelius there's more Stoics than Marcus Aurelius, but yeah.
Say I have his book. I was gonna send it to you. Do you already have it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I watched an interview of all things with a comedian. Remember Jerry Seinfeld?
Yeah.
He was being interviewed, I don't know, last year, and he mentioned that book by name. I thought, and just what it had meant to him in his life and how it's, calmed him down. And so that's my obsession. Every morning, I start with my prayers, my devotional, and my 4 agreements, and then my Stoicism. I got 2 books on it, and yeah, and
Yep.
it's really
The one
yeah,
other than the Marcus Aurelius one, you have to send me the other one that you're reading. I'd
I
like to.
will. Yeah, no, I will. Yeah, sure.
I learned something new from you in that one. That was another great pearl that you golly, you really did do some self-reflection to get prepared. Michael, thank you so much. This
Well, you live this long in life.
well, okay, so you said something that it struck something in me. It struck a chord in me. And so speaking of striking chords, I'm going to talk about frequency for a second. So
Mhm.
you said you just care, your passion, you care more than other people. And one of the things I hear, and it's funny because I think every generation says the same thing about the next generation in this one vein. They just don't care. They
Mhm.
just don't care, right? So like, the older generations right now look at the younger generations and say, well, they just don't care. They're always on their phone. They don't care. It's like, well, no, they do care. They care passionately about a lot of things. It's just that they might not care the same way that you care. So when it comes to this whole concept of finding your frequency or being around people who care or identifying what you care for and pursuing that care. Is there any I don't want to lead you down any path. I just wanted to kind of remember I told you I can throw out any subject and you probably are going to have some thought on the subject. So I'm just curious as to your thought on frequencies and caring.
Yeah.
Or maybe not because you just said yeah, like you're like no. I don't
Well, I'm trying to I sometimes, Tina, I've learned I have so much that I need to pause because I can take that question, probably a dozen different ways. For me, frequency, to me, it's leading a purpose-driven life, and it's changed my outlook and my frequency in that it used to be just about the money when I was younger and so much less depth. Okay, I was like a robot, and all I cared about was money and prestige, recognition, promotion for the sake of promotion, right? Remember the beginning of this conversation? I said it tongue in cheek, but there was a lot of truth in how much resentment I had before you and I worked together and became friends. And I saw your greatness, up front and center every day, right? I was like, okay, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get in front of the classroom and riff like she just did. Like, wow, she is definitely more articulate than I am. she uses she uses second semester words. You know? But I really again, I'm not trying to be intentionally self-deprecating. I'm just trying to give you a really pure, honest answer in that through the years I've evolved into actually, you know, seeing helping other people achieve greatness, right? And achieve their dreams and being a better version of themselves or the best version of themselves. That's my frequency. That's my purpose. And I hate to do this. I can't help myself, right? If I'm in a conversation, I'm going to bring up Dabo Sweeney, okay, at least one time, okay?
I thought, oh, we might be clear of that. We might, but no.
Shameless plug for Clemson, right? But no, listen, I get to spend a lot of time with that man and his coaching staff with that Paul journey that I was a part of for, gosh, a decade.
You gotta say
Where I
that
got
word one more time, Pittsburgh. You gotta say that word one more time. What journey?
Paul. It's PAW. It's an acronym. Obviously, it's a play on the tiger paw, right? Our emblem, right? But also, it's positive about winning. And ironically, it is a student athlete mentoring program that Dabo started with all-time great linebacker Jeff Davis. Okay. And those two had this vision. He shared it with me back in May of 2014 that he was going to go above and beyond for his student athletes, for his boys, as he called them, because it wasn't just about bringing them in and winning football games. Okay. Tina, listen, he's been saying this for 20 straight years. And I'm telling you, it's genuine. Okay. His purpose in life is to take these young boys, these 18-year-old kids, okay, from whatever different demographic, different background, okay, and he feels it's sacred that these parents trust him to then take their boy and help develop them into young, great men. Okay. And he's got 4 or 5 years to do it. And that is his real focus. That's his real passion. That's his purpose for being the head coach of Clemson football. And they're going to win and he's like, and we're going to win a lot of football games. But I'm not in it for national championships. I'm in it so that, let's say I was one of his players, right? So that Mike McNulty becomes a great husband, a great father, a great employee, a better friend, so on and so forth. And that may sound hokey, especially in 2026, but he's never, ever wavered. So, and I'm sure I get accused by some of my employees behind my back, I run my sales organization with the same purpose. Okay. And I tell them in the interview process early on, listen, man, not everybody, just like Dabo says, not everybody's cut out to come play for Clemson, right? Because it might not be your culture. Same thing with every company I've been at, whether it was probably started with Rotation Medical. Honestly, I didn't have this mentality or this mindset at our Stasis because this is before I was around Dabo. So beginning with Rotation, then the MEOC, then Smith and Nephew, and of course now Osseo, all these companies, my purpose is I want you, Mr. or Mrs. Sales Rep, to not just achieve greatness in your sales position. I want you to achieve greatness in life. I want you to look back on this experience, however long you're with us on this journey, and 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I want you to tell your kids, your grandkids, oh man, the best chapter of my career was those couple of years with Mike McNulty at Osseo. It was so much more than just sales results, making good money. It was about challenging me to be the best human I could be, the best version. And, I feel like a lot of my employees really embrace that and they appreciate it and they mention it time and time again when we have these surveys as far as our culture. And then some employees, and this is okay, they're like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm here to make a paycheck, right? And that's okay. We don't have to have mandatory fun. Sorry for the sermon.
No, I think you've brought up something that I believe many people in business feel as though is lacking, which is leadership that brings the humanity into the business. And
100%.
when people leave a job and, folks in the company are like, why did they leave? At least 50% of the time, it's because of their leadership.
It may be more than that. It may be more than 50, honestly. It's funny. I don't care who runs the survey, right? I mean, all the great organizations out there, Harvard Business Review, et cetera, right? Never have I ever read where money was the number one reason why an employee leaves an organization. In fact, it's typically between third and fourth reason. It's not even a second.
Okay. So we've decided boss. The other one I've read is not feeling valued. Not feeling valued.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm not appreciated. I don't feel appreciated, right? So it's either I can't stand my leadership because of whatever the reason is, or I don't feel appreciated. But you're right, money is typically after that.
Yep. And then most of the time they justify those first two or three thoughts, right, or true feelings with, I'm leaving for a better opportunity financially. That's a smokescreen most of the time. Now, recently I've had one, maybe two employees leave our organization voluntarily. And I truly believe them. I truly believe that they were in a financial hardship position because neither one of them wanted to leave, they loved their managers. They loved our culture. They felt appreciated and they felt like, here's the other one we forgot, development.
Oh,
Development.
yes.
And that one's tricky though, T, because I'm a little conflicted, right? I get it, but I sometimes push back and say, yes, our company has a responsibility at a macro level to provide you proper training, education, ongoing training and education, not just new hire, right? So many companies do not do a good job of either. That's why I think you and I really bonded and connected because our sales training program at Cordis was world freaking class, right? Not because of you and I, but because of the people, hopefully we enhanced it, right? But man, that thing, they had that thing on autopilot. But I feel that I sometimes push back and say, whoa, don't be entitled here. Wait a minute now. Okay, if I was talking to you and you said that to me, I'd say, Miss Tina, I hear you, and I will absolutely provide you whatever your needs are. But guess who's responsible for their development the most? The mirror, you, not to point at you. Anyways. Yep.
No, you're absolutely right. Okay, so you've just dropped so much wisdom, and
Don't know about that.
you have.
A lot of words.
We could talk forever, and
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful I had a chance to see you recently, even though we don't live
Oh,
in the same general location. And I want to wish you a very, very happy wedding coming up.
man.
Uh,
Yeah.
I just
I
got
am so in love. I can't even tell you. I am so happy, man. She is just a dynamo. She is people. Yeah, man. She's right. Yeah, I think that was a really special night. Really wonderful to get to see my boy Jeff after all these years. Haven't seen my good old Michigan boy in a minute, and we could commiserate and our equal misery and watching Michigan State Clemson football last year. This year is going to be better. All right.
But I
But
love the dedication. I honestly love the dedication between the two of you. All right, so while we wrap, because we can talk for so many things, I want to give you an open floor. Is there anything that you want to end with before I close? Because I'm sure I'm going to have you back for something else. I'm gonna talk to you
yeah.
about.
Yeah, obviously, great. I mean, amazing gratitude for you to even think of me and give me an opportunity to express, some of my thoughts, a lot of my opinions, right? It's my truths, not my facts, and just at the risk of sounding a little bit, uh, I, I'm just really proud of you. I'm really proud of you. I think what you're doing is next level. I think it's phenomenal. It's very much aligned with what I just preached about Dabo and me and our purpose. I mean, this is a higher level purpose, and that's why you're going to be so successful. This is about helping people. And the more you help people, as the great, I think it was Dale Carnegie, right? The more you help people, yeah, it comes back around and you get a little bit of that taste of goodness too. So that's how I'd like to end this is just, you're better than ever. You're the best. Can't wait to come see you and Jeff again, or y'all come down to Charleston. Mel and I will show you a pretty big time, I promise you.
Love how you traded yous guys or yuns for y'all. I love that transition. You can teach an old
Man,
dog.
hey, when you live with a Southern fried girl, okay, you're gonna learn to say y'all and fixin' and supper time and darling, and I love it all.
Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. I'm going to post all the connections for Mike McNulty below so that you can get a hold of him. LinkedIn is probably going to be the best way to get a hold of Mike, and unless he gives us other things. But you've heard from one of my favorite people on earth. He is fine and he is flawed and he is fabulous. And that is why I absolutely love this guy. We grew up together in business and he keeps me on the straight and narrow for sure. And it's because of his integrity and character. So check yours as we move forward in life. I hope you all have a wonderful day and we'll see you on the next Turn Talks. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Turn Talks. To learn more about our robust mentoring platform, visit us at turnmentoring.com. Join us next time for more enlightening conversations.